Synthaholics.
Welcome to Synthaholics. We are back into Star Trek.
What
Star
Trek?
Lower Decks. Star Trek Lower Decks. Today we have myself, Aaron O'Brien, and David Duncan. Hey, Dave.
Duncan. Hey. We're back for some Star Trek.
Back from some Star Trek. So, this is the animated series. A lot of reservations, a lot of people worried about this because we've never really had a funny Trek. I mean, you could say the animated series was funny, but not intentionally.
Oh,
and there have been funny episodes in Trek, or funny parts in Trek, but not something trying to be complete comedy.
Not a dedicated comedy series before, and I mean, the closest we've gotten to anything dedicated comedy was Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home.
Yeah. Good point.
I mean, the entire movie was basically a comedy, if you look at it from a certain point of view. Mm-hmm. It's out of
right.
It's a fish out of water film comedy.
Right. So, without just doing spoilers, just how did you feel about this this inaugural episode?
I was probably the most hesitant out of everyone. I know Holly was. I think she had seemed like she was excited about it a while ago. I know Guy was hesitant. I wasn't here with you guys for that episode, but I imagine I was probably the most hesitant out of the people in our group who usually talk about Star Trek together, and I was wonderfully surprised. I think this is the most Trek-like show of the three shows CBS All Access has put out. It feels more like Star Trek than Star Trek Discovery, and more like Star Trek than Picard by far. Just it's goofy. But if you take away the goofy stuff, it feels more like Star Trek. Like the intro title sequence feels like Star Trek. I mean, you've got people on the ship. I mean, that they're interacting together. It doesn't seem like it's centered on just one person nearly as hard as the other shows have been. It seems more like it's going to be like a nice little cartoon ensemble. So I am delightfully surprised by how good this was.
It seems like an homage to Next Gen.
Yes. It was, but goofy. But it definitely...
Yeah, well, of course, yeah.
And the goofy... I mean, I wish they were a little bit more serious sometimes, because, like, the girl, I have a hard time, like, taking her seriously, because, like, that this person would exist in Star Trek. Because, I mean, Barclay's the most out there person we ever saw, and she's, like, Barclay with, like, so much more speed in a system. Well, what about you, Aaron? What are your initial thoughts?
I loved it. I thought there were parts of the comedy that were like, okay, a little predictable, but because we saw some of it in the trailers.
Yeah.
But besides that, I mean, there were still some pretty funny things that were said and done, which I thought was good, and silly in a lot of ways. But it made me laugh. Not like double over laughter, but there were a couple parts where I thought, well, that's pretty funny. That's a funny little gag, or that's a funny joke, or something like that. So, and I love it. It is very much Rick and Morty-esque kind of, animation, but it has everything, all the calling cards of, if Next Gen, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, it feels very much like you're in that world. Just maybe jump ahead, a decade or so later. So I'm not sure. It says 2380, so I'm not exactly sure what happens during that time. But anyways, so
yeah, pleasantly surprised. Like I was scared this was going to be the worst of the bunch, and it is somehow I mean, granted, we're only one episode in, but it seems like it's the best of the bunch by far.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it almost feels more like the Orville, which most people say the Orville feels more like Star Trek than Discovery and Picard did. And this sort of feels like animated Orville, I guess, except it's actually Star Trek.
Right. Honestly, I kind of like I like the feel to it. So I didn't have a problem with the comedy, and I don't have a problem with the silliness of it. I worried that they were going to. I think I was just worried that they're going to be lame. It wasn't going to be edgy enough, and it wasn't super edgy. It wasn't like Rick or Morty edgy, but there's definitely some.
There's room for growth.
I'll give him a pass. Yeah, I give him a pass for the first episode because he's got to introduce everybody. It's so difficult to introduce a cast of characters all at once, and I think this episode did pretty good job. So
it's just yeah. And the thing is, like, the ensign girl, she is
Mariner.
Yeah,
Mariner.
She's too spazzy. Like, everyone else seems like they could be a real Star Trek character from like Next Gen. I could see a real person playing them. I can't see a real person being Mariner. It just does. She is so much a cartoon character. Like she's a through and through cartoon character, where everyone else seems like they could be a real person. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, her character's name is Beckett Mariner, and she seems like she was at one point a higher rank, like maybe she was a lieutenant, and she was busted down to
because her parents are.
Yeah, her parents is her mom. We don't know that, and it's at the very beginning, but later on, it's
spoilers, of course. Because this is Synthaholics.
Her mom is a captain, and her father's an admiral. So, so basically. But should we get into just kind of spoilers? And we won't go to a full breakdown, but we'll just kind of just loosely talk about what the episode's about and how we feel about it.
Absolutely.
So the episode is called Second Contact. And this is Season 1, Episode 1, and this is August 6, 2020. So we basically start off with, we get the introduction to Ensign Brad Boimler, and he is doing a fake captain's log in a closet, and this is where Ensign Beckett Mariner comes in and just makes fun of him for doing this, and she's drinking Romulan whiskey. Why do they call it Romulan ale? I don't know.
I mean, I guess maybe it's actually whiskey instead of ale. I mean, it's a different. Yeah. I guess all Romulan drinks are blue.
Yeah, exactly. And then she says she has a Klingon batleth, and she starts swinging around, and she
cuts a chunk out of his thigh,
which is pretty funny because it really does. They show the thing really chunked into there, so I thought that was great. And they start screaming.
That was probably the funniest part of the episode. Just like she just cuts this dude's leg.
I don't know if it was the funniest. I'll tell you. And then we get the whole intro sequence, which has reminiscent of Voyager. And it shows them like getting sucked into a black hole, and then like they just burst out of it because they must have realized they're falling into this black hole, and then they like going across like an icy landscape, and they crash into like one of the like I don't know, like glaciers or something, and it starts listing off in the distance because they crashed into that. And then there's the scene where
they get into a Borg battle with Romulans.
The Romulan warbirds are all firing on these Borg, and they just kind of turn around and get the hell out of there.
Like, yeah, we're not going to mess with this. And they also fly with this giant alien sucking on one of their nacelles.
Yeah. I was like, that's pretty funny. You know, it's like that's clever. You know, I mean, I would like to see them do more gags like that, maybe if they do a second season. So
yeah, and
fun stuff. I like it. So and then we get to the shuttlecraft lands and into the ship's called the Cerritos.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a young Orion science officer, and her name is Tendi. I think that's how I'm saying this right. And she's assigned to Boimler to be her liaison. And it's funny because Boimler is working on a replicator that keeps on shooting out hot bananas. Bananas, hot. Bananas,
hot.
It's pretty funny. And then he's getting burned.
Who would want a hot banana?
Yeah, who would want a hot banana? Exactly.
It's so gross.
He squishes it in his hand and something. It's just funny. It's so stupid. So they start doing like an informal like tour of the ship, which was great, because you kind of want to see it anyways. And this is where we meet Sam Rutherford, who had just recently got a cybernetic enhancement on his head. And,
it's a Vulcan cybernetic enhancement.
Yeah, it has a motion suppressor in it. And
a motion suppressing chip.
Yeah, he keeps on it keeps on checking, clicking in which he doesn't want it to do. And he has a date coming up, and with Ensign Barnes, and he doesn't feel nervous, and then when they fix the chip there, he all of a sudden he gets really nervous, so because he doesn't know any good jokes, or he doesn't know any jokes.
Oh no, he's gonna be Geordie LaForge.
He is a Geordie LaForge, yeah. Somebody made a joke on the Facebook page that they all look like the Teen Titans.
They do kind of.
Sort of do look like the Teen Titans, actually.
Well, but it's like the color palette. It's a really weird color palette for cartoon. But when they do exterior shots of the ship, they do a really good job. It's almost jarring how good the external shots are, and like the internal shots of the corridors look great, but then the characters look almost out of place. Like was the Rick and Morty.
I actually don't mind the animation of the characters, and I gotta say, I fucking love the uniforms. I love them. Like, I would wear that uniform.
Yeah, like it's got the nice sort of like white border.
I love that white border
between the colored part and the black part.
Yeah, I think it's great. I love
it's pretty slick.
So I like it a lot. Then Mariner takes the new recruit ensign to the holodeck and shows off that, and shows a bunch of places they go, and then she takes the holodeck to an all nude Olympic training room.
Oh yeah, she does.
And Tendi noticed that it's a very detailed program.
Very detailed program. This one's not circumcised.
Yeah, so then we go back down to the surface of this planet. They're doing second contact. So after we've done first contact, second contact is basically get that planet up and running to communicate with the Federation and to talk with anything that they might need to be part of the Federation. So they're doing a subspace communication array, and they have this one of the commander, Jack Ransom, and he is talking to the High Council, but he gets bit by some insect at the last second, and he's just kind of like annoyed, but just kind of like whatever.
It's just a bug bite.
Yeah, it doesn't think much about it. And so he beams back up to the ship. Doesn't think a lot about it.
What about the biofilters in the transporter? Why didn't the biofilters catch this?
Apparently it's outside its detection, so I don't know. Then Ensign Boimler is asked to come to the bridge and goes up and meets with Captain Carol Freeman, and she is asked Boimler to kind of spy on Mariner, and she's basically saying, like, I want you to give a full report anytime she breaks protocol. So we don't know this, and I don't even know if Boimler knows this, but Freeman is Mariner's mom.
Yeah, I mean, we find out at the very, very end when she's talking to her husband, who's an admiral, and they're just like, oh, I see what's going on here.
Right. Because he's like, I want to put her in the brig. He says, she likes the brig.
She's going to think it's awesome.
So
she's going to try to do a Morse code and hope Scotty will blow a hole in it.
So the thing with Ensign Boimler, he wants to be a captain someday. He wants to be in command. This is his big dream. And people keep on putting it over his head, either to make fun of him or like Captain Freeman is to kind of like, like to say, you want to be captain someday. He's like, yes, ma'am, I do, So he's going to follow all the rules. So then we go down to like 10 forward area where we have the cybernetic Rutherford talking with, have his date with Ensign Barnes, and they're kind of talking and just, he basically is having difficulty because his implant keeps on kicking in and shutting down his emotions.
But her dad used to be her dad was a cyborg, so like she's into people who are like her dad apparently.
Right, exactly. Oh God! And then
you're gonna be just like my daddy.
Boimler and Mariner are down on the planet, and they're setting up this communication comm array, and this is where Mariner just breaks off and takes off, and then Boimler decides, because it was his instructions to report on her to see what she's doing, so he comes and takes off and does that. Did you see the one guy who's giving the orders at this point? I guess his name is Andy Billups, Lieutenant Commander Andy Billups. He looks like Jeff Foxworthy.
No, I didn't notice that, no.
He totally looks like Jeff Foxworthy. I was like, that guy looks exactly like Jeff Foxworthy.
That's funny.
Anyways, I just thought it was funny. Probably doesn't mean anything.
Because
he's got the mustache and stuff. Yeah, he was a funny guy. Yeah.
You might be a Star Trek officer if...
if you're in second contact. So there's given up. So he goes off, and they're chasing after Ensign Mariner to find out what she's doing. Back up on the ship, Commander Ransom goes crazy from the bug bite, and then they instantly everyone turns into flesh-eating zombies.
He rips someone's neck out and chews on it and swallows it, I think, because later it's a joke. Is how much flesh did he eat? Just a little bit. Just
I ate human flesh. During that time, though, Rutherford and Barnes just nonchalantly just put their table up so they don't get into the fight, and they're still talking about what they're into and where their crew quarters are and stuff like that.
Yeah, their date continues as all hell breaks loose around them and phasers are being fired all around them.
Yeah.
They get spacesuits and walk through they do a spacewalk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
that's where the date falls apart, because she doesn't notice a level 2 diagnostic ready to happen.
Yeah, she doesn't, somehow level 2 diagnostic is, better than a date.
Better than sex, apparently.
Yeah, I guess. Tendi goes to the sick bay, and we get the chief medical officer, who's a catin, one of those cat creatures. And her, I think it's a girl, but I'm not sure. It's Tiana is the name. So anyways, they're strapping everyone to beds, and so it's complete chaos down there. And then from there, when down on the planet, Boimler confronts Mariner and find out that she's giving farm equipment shovels and hoes.
Yeah, but he thinks that she's bringing weapons, and he's trying to get her on weapons exchange charges or something.
Right, and it's they'll never get these things. It'll take them months to get to this or something like this. So, and she made contact with them before because she was there during first contact, which he didn't know. And then all of a sudden, during the argument, the two little aliens they're speaking to run off, and a giant spider comes out and just starts, creating havoc, and they try to hide from it. But Mariner comes with this idea of dressing dummies up in their uniforms, and they're hang up in their underwear up in the trees, and that's where Mariner decides to jump on it and on the spider and try to take it out, but somehow it gets a hold of Boimler and then just starts slurping
on him
over and over again.
It's very much like a weird dick joke where he just kind of sticks him out, sucks him back in, puts him out, sucks him back in. It's that's weird.
It's very, very weird. And finally, it's just the aliens say, he's just suckling. Just give him a little bit. He'll get tired, and then
he won't hurt you. He doesn't have teeth.
Yeah, and then finally, what happens from there? He's covered in a spider goo. And when they beam back up, which I didn't understand why they would beam them back up with all the chaos going on.
Again, why aren't the biofilters taking all the stuff off of him?
Exactly. So he gets beamed up, and then the chief medical officer realizes that this is somehow a key to stop this zombie-like behavior, and they wild chase up back to the medical sick bay, and they synthesize it, and people are cured. Who knows how many people were actually injured or killed during all this, but we basically find out that Boimler realizes that he's not going to tell, tattle or rat out Mariner to Captain Freeman, and he realizes that it was kind of she was doing the right thing, and she's, Mariner's a lot smarter than she looks. She's just not breaking rules for no reason, even though she's a little wild. Yeah. And Anyways, so and that's kind of it. I mean, there's a little funny end at the end where she says
she name drops like tons of people.
Everything.
She name drops Spock and Kirk and Gary Mitchell.
Gary Mitchell, even that was
a weird name out.
Yeah, Gary Mitchell. Yeah, exactly. What do you think about everything? I'm going to say, I just think this is really fun, well done, and they can only do better from here. So.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping they would not run into the Borg, although in the later this season, they do run into the Borg. I'm just like, no, they're like the colossal fuck ups. Like they can't run into the Borg. There's no way they could win.
Or maybe they don't win. Maybe something else happens. But
yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just a holodeck program, because I really hope they don't actually run into the Borg for real. I would love to see like other stuff. Because there's a lot of stuff they could do in the next gen timeline. Like, I just want to see them get stuck with the Pac-Leds for like 4 or 5 episodes.
That's hilarious.
Can you imagine, like, Mariner and the Pac-Leds?
That'd be great. That'd be awesome.
Because, I mean, like, I think they only appeared, like, as main characters in, like, 1 episode of Next Gen. And then, like, I think you see them in the background of, like, some Deep Space Nine episodes, but they never, like, have a speaking role ever again. That would just be great to bring back the Pac-Leds or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. It's I think it was great. There's nothing I didn't like about it. Like I said, I thought some of the things were a little predictable, but it was fine because it's like I knew this was the first episode, and just the introductions and stuff like that can be a little clunky sometimes, but I think they did it really well. Like, it's just like everybody was introduced. You kind of get to everyone's personalities down. Boimler is like that straight shooter, wants to be that, perfect, officer. Mariner is just completely out of control.
She's completely unhinged. Like, if there's anything I don't like about this show, it's Mariner. I just wish she would be more like a real person. I know it's a cartoon, but it's supposed to be canon, and it's supposed to be, this is Star Trek and Star Trek, and I just wish, because everyone else is pretty normal, and she's just like such a cartoon character.
What's funny about Mariner is that how, like self-assured, and she thinks she's got it all figured out, but her mom and dad are the one who's like, helping her out.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, she's like kind of like a rich girl, if you want to think of it that way. It's like, she can crash her car all she wants, and mom and dad will get fix her car and stuff like that,
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Like, she can screw up, and, mom and dad is going to fix her problems for her, kind of thing. But she also seems like like you said, she's unhinged, but she could be promising if she would settle down a little bit. Rutherford seems like you said, like sort of a LaForge kind of character.
He's totally going to be like the LaForge stand-in.
Yeah. I'm not really sure about the Orion. I know I'm saying it wrong. Tendi. Tendi, yeah.
Well, I don't know. It looks like it's Tendi, so I would assume Tendi.
I'm not really sure what kind of character she's supposed to be, other than just like kind of like that, in awe of everything around her. Like, she's so into science and exploring and stuff like that. That's kind of her character.
I'm really curious what they're going to do with Tendi, because we haven't had any canon Orions since Enterprise. I guess we had them in Discovery, but they're just like sex workers. They didn't really do anything other than like sleep with Giorgio. So we haven't had any like main character Orions since the Enterprise episode where we've learned that they're the ones who are in charge. Like, I'm really curious if they're going to go into more Orion lore, since they have an Orion main character. Like, do they get their pheromones removed if they join Starfleet? Like, what can she still control people if she like wants to, or like if she slips up? Like,
maybe like they're like Deltans kind of thing,
Yeah. I mean, Orions were basically the new Deltans, actually, I guess Deltans were the new Orions, but since Deltans came later, but yeah, Enterprise had all that lore where they're just like they're in control, and they control men with their pheromones, and they give women headaches. So I'm like, I just wonder like if they're going to expand this Orion lore, because
I'm sure they do. Yeah, so. Yeah. No, the Orions are cool, and there's no reason why Orion at this point probably could have joined Starfleet.
Well, we saw them join Starfleet in the JJ universe, but
that's true. We did. Yeah, we did. Yeah. But that kind of doesn't make a lot of sense during that time period.
No, not at all. Not during that time period. So, I mean, at this period, it does make more sense. And also, there's probably need to get out because the Orion Syndicate is also, like, super corrupt in this period because O'Brien gets caught up in it soon, or he already is. I don't know when this takes place as opposed to Deep Space Nine. I know it's in the same ballpark.
Yeah, this takes place, it looks like, after the whole Shinzon thing.
Oh, so it takes place post-Nemesis.
Like a year or so. Yeah, like post-Nemesis, yeah.
So it's probably post-Deep Space Nine also.
Yeah, it is. It's, some years in the advance.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like it was. So it's 2380, so. But, I think it's great. I cannot wait to see what else they come up with here. It looks funny. I like the character designs. I like I just like everything how they got this thing all set up. I really do. I'm really enjoying it. I think I can't imagine them screwing it up from here. Because it could be just a fun romp, and that's all it is.
That's all it needs to be. And like the thing is, there's a lot of stuff they could explore. They could have some Ferengi episodes. They could do a lot of stuff with it in this time period. There's so many alien races we didn't get to see a whole lot in Next Gen and whatnot. They could just do a whole bunch of them. Like they introduced the Delta. Like I said, the Pac-Led, and we never really saw them again. So they could having this ship as the not important ship. They just have to deal with the Pac-Led all the time because the Pac-Led are so unimportant or they're so dumb. So that would be perfect setup for comedy because the Pac-Leds are so dumb.
Oh yeah,
and having to deal with, and then Mariner having to deal with them when she's such a spaz and they're so slow. It would be kind of amazing.
Be so aggravating. Yeah, she'd be so aggravating.
I would kind of love to see that team up, Pac-Leds and Mariner.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's great. I can't wait to see what else they come up with for these 9 more episodes. So honestly, this is, to me, it's better than Picard, and it's better than Discovery.
By far.
Yeah.
This feels like Star Trek, even with the stupid silliness and the cartoon character that is Mariner. This feels way more like Star Trek than either two of those other shows do. And Picard was so removed from Starfleet and the Federation kind of thing. It was like they were working so far off on the fringes. It didn't feel like it anymore. We're just following the character Picard, which, it's aptly named Star Trek Picard. But, it's like you don't feel like you're telling that story anymore about the Federation. And now Discovery is so far in the future that the Federation is no longer there or falling apart from what we can tell. So... But even when it was still there and complete, it didn't feel like Star Trek. Discovery did. It didn't, because it's so. There's Spock said there's never been a mutiny in Star Trek. In the first episode, our main character commits mutiny, and so it's just like shaking all the chains and rattling stuff that doesn't need to be shaken and rattled. And at the end of the season, it's all undone. But it's like, well, why do it in the first place? I don't know, just
right.
Work within your confines, or just post everything so you don't have to work within the lore. I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like maybe the whole. Maybe because this is animation and these people are all probably down in their deep heart, nerds, and they love stuff like Star Trek. That they know everything about that stuff, they understand all the back, the little jokes here and there they could throw out there, especially the writers and stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe Alex Kurtzman isn't going to have his eye on this as closely as the other stuff since it's not live action. He doesn't think it's as important. Maybe this is where Star Trek gets saved, where people who really love Star Trek are working on this animated show.
Right.
And one thing we forgot to mention up top is that we haven't mentioned it in a couple of weeks because we've been covering Expanse.
Our recording is all over the place. Yeah,
our recording is all over the place, but also we've been covering the Expanse. But the season 3 of Discovery's premiere date is October 15th, 2020. Honestly, I was kind of thinking they would push that back further because of COVID and not knowing when they can start shooting a next season or whatnot. So I'm actually surprised it's coming out as soon as October.
Well, I guarantee you, Picard is going to be so pushed back until this whole COVID thing, pushes over. So,
oh yeah, I mean, Sir Patrick Stewart's really old. You can't risk him getting sick.
Yeah, exactly. Funny other thing is the lieutenant, not lieutenant commander. The commander of the Cerritos is Jack Ransom, and that is voiced by Jerry O'Connell from Sliders.
Yes, I wanted to mention that because we spoke about that. I think it was in the outtakes for last week's episode where we talked about.
I know we talked about Sliders for just a quick second. So
yeah, I think it was in the outtakes from last week, and we also said he was in Piranha 3D where he got his dick bitten off. So that's pretty funny. He's also married to Rebecca Romaine, and she's #1 in Star Trek Discovery Season 2.
Oh, I didn't know he was married to her.
Yeah,
interesting. Oh, cool.
Yep.
So yeah, this is good stuff. I can't imagine anybody watching this, and honestly, there wasn't anything that bad in it. So like, I could watch it with my kids.
I mean, they said they were nude, the men, but they didn't show anything.
Some, but whatever.
They got in their underwear, which isn't bad. I mean, she said like shit like once or twice, but there wasn't any F-bombs.
But I mean, they watch the Marvel movies and they shits, and I think they said shit, and someone was being a dick because Mariner said,
Mariner said someone was being a dick.
My shoes or something like that. I had a fight. What did he said? A Yeti on a Klingon like prison planet for my shoes because he was being a dick.
Yeah,
or something like that. Which was a funny joke too, just in itself.
It's like Repente.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so many jokes that just kind of like slid in there, and it's just funny to me, I think they did a good job.
And the thing is, I think they could do a lot of jokes because for people who are like super into Star Trek, like this might be the show for people who are super into Star Trek. Because they could probably make all these like weird little references to other things Star Trek, and like, oh, like that was a joke to this. And I mean, we do it all the time. Yeah. And we make jokes that are callbacks to other Star Trek things all the time. Even if we're not talking about Star Trek, we'll make a Star Trek callback joke in something if something in Expanse or whatever we're talking about. Pat Angelita reminds us of it.
No, I totally. I mean, there's tons of stuff that they could, because it's animation. They can do a ton of things that were just like, just tucked in the background, and it doesn't cost them anything to draw something else that you'd be like, oh my God, did you see that? Like something just,
And something in the news I saw that there are some legacy characters that will show up. They didn't say who will show up, but I mean, like, that'd be interesting. What legacy characters, like next gen characters? I mean, since all the actors are alive, they could lend voice to it potentially. I don't know.
I mean, one of the things we saw, which I just thought was funny, is that we saw one of those benzite characters with like the gas things.
Oh yeah. Whenever Tendi beams over.
Yeah. When she comes over, and it was like you see her for the. I just thought it was funny that they threw that character in there.
Just because it's like he had the one that was Wesley's friend and the one who looked exactly like Wesley's friend but wasn't.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you say like it's like I don't know who you're talking about.
Are you saying we all look alike? You're so racist. I'll report you to Starfleet Security.
Wesley. I know. You're going to jail, Wesley. No.
Actually, we could kill you because you technically did receive the death sentence for falling in those flowers.
Oh, that's right. Just take him back to that pleasure planet.
Oh God, I want them to go back to the planet in Lower Decks. Make second contact with the Edo. Oh my God, that would be amazing.
You might.
There's so many funny things they could do with Lower Decks. Oh my God, that would be amazing.
Yeah. No, I mean, they could do a lot of things.
So many dumb things they could like follow up, and because I mean, like since they're the least important ship, they make second contact, and second contact, I mean, would definitely have to happen. They would need to set up communication if they did decide to join Starfleet. Makes perfect sense. So, they could do so much weird stuff, like just follow up on like the heels of the Enterprise D. They could do some amazing stuff. So, I'm excited. I'm really excited for the rest of the season. I did not think I was going to say that.
Guys, what do you think about this? I mean, I know a lot of people are very divided on an animated and a comedy of Star Trek series. A lot of people don't like that. I don't see it as a problem. I think it's a great thing. I don't mind comedy. I don't mind wackiness, as long as it stays true to what Star Trek's supposed to be. You can still have fun in those confines.
Oh yeah.
So
absolutely.
what do you guys think of that? I mean, let us know. I mean, hit us up. You can hit us up on our Facebook page, our Facebook /groups/Synthaholics. You can email us at Synthaholics@yahoo.com, and you can tweet us at our Twitter, which is Synthaholic Duo. Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear your feedback. If you tell us to read an email, that you have a permission, we'll definitely read it on the episodes. We'd love to hear what you have, what your thoughts are on this, because it's a lot of people. I've been hearing pushback, not a ton, but I mean I have been hearing pushback on this. So I don't really get it, but hey, whatever. Everyone's maybe animation is not your
before
thing.
People have seen it, or push back after people have already seen it.
I've seen both. I saw some people saying it's just kind of forgettable, nothing that interesting. But I think they're missing the point. They're having some fun, some yucks on the whole Star Trek universe, which is funny. And I think funny is even that Mariner's these are all talking about the senior staff is they're all wanting to put their names in the history books. They're not really interested in you and your safety and what you want and stuff like that. So there might be some truth to that. Maybe not overtly, but there's some truth to that, I'm sure.
Could be. So. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was more apprehensive beforehand. I didn't know this really had a place, and like I said, it feels the most faithful to what Star Trek is than any of the other shows. So,
well, I've been a fan of the animated series too. I think it's stupid, but it's fun.
I mean, who doesn't love Spock drawing pentagrams and casting black magic for funsies
and conjuring the devil? Right?
Yeah, conjuring the devil.
Who doesn't want that? It's great. I mean, I don't know what's not to like. I mean, look, the animation is terrible. That's part of the thing that really does that whole series in. It's so bad and it's so slowly paced, and the music just is annoying. So, yeah.
Oh man, Harry Mudd. They could bring Harry Mudd in.
Oh, that would be great. Maybe they could find a way to throw him back in there.
Well, I mean, they've got all those Harry Mudd robots.
Yeah, he could just been putting around, whether it's him or just a version of him.
Yeah,
absolutely. Anything else before we wrap this up, Dave?
No, I mean this show's got so much room for potential. It's really kind of exciting. This is probably the most excited I've been about a Star Trek show since before Discovery Season 1 aired. I mean, we had so much excitement going into that, and it just kind of petered off real fast for me personally, and I'm one episode in the Lower Decks and I'm actually genuinely excited to see what's coming next, so I'm super pumped for that.
It's funny. It's very funny for me. I like it. And we make a lot of fun about Star Trek anyways. We love Star Trek, but we like to have, jokes about it. And they're kind of going right up our alley. So. Oh
yeah, absolutely. This is way more up my alley than I thought it was going to be. So, bravo, Lower Decks.
We were kind of working on their comic idea was not this, but very similar to something like this.
Yes, somewhat. Some of the ideas we did pitch back and
forth 5 some years ago. So
yeah, well, it's 6 years ago.
6 years ago, whenever, how long ago it was. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So we were going to do a comic that's not like this, but had a similar feel to it.
Well, on July 29th, that would have been my 7th year anniversary at Yahoo. It would have been. So it's been 6 years basically since we started doing this.
I had a job. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been quite a while. So yeah. Anyways, guys, let us know what you think. Let us know what you're feeling about this. We'd love to hear your input. I'm excited. Dave's excited. That's new for a lot of us. We've tried to feign excitement, and we couldn't seem to do it. But at least this time, we finally have done it. So,
this is the most excited I've been about Star Trek in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right.
It's good.
Good stuff. All right, guys. Well, like I said, you got all those contacts. Definitely contact us if you can. And if you are interested or if you want to support our show, please go to our Patreon, patreon.com/Synthaholics. And also, please share us on social media and let other people know about our podcast. And, another thing you could do to help us for free is leave a review on Apple Podcasts. That'd be great, too. So, all right, Dave, until next week. We will be talking Lower Decks.
Mariner out. Woo! Inappropriate Vulcan signals.
Live long and prosper, one and all.
Well, McCoy, my boy, come mix me a drink. Before the night's over, I'll puke in the sink. And we'll cry till we laugh. And we'll both shit our pants. You're the best drinking friend I ever